All right, so got this thing up off the ground, got it up here on the workbench, got it stabilized the best way we know how, you know what I'm saying? So now we're just gonna go ahead and get ready to get the rest of the external accessories off the engine and get ready to get the cylinder head and stuff off. Another reason you might be asking is, why are you just disassembling this for parts anyway? It looks decent. Well, it did look decent. You get up here and you start looking, and Suzuki's grand design from their rod that goes through here for the clutch, and the mechanism that activates that bolts onto the sprocket cover. And if you can't bolt your sprocket cover on because, say, it slung a chain and broke all the threads everywhere, well, then you pretty much can't use your clutch anymore. So this case is pretty much useless. The internals might be still good, but as far as it goes with the case, you'll never be able to use a clutch or bolt the clutch onto there. I mean, if it would have broke it off a little bit less, maybe, but as far as it went all the way to the casting, so I mean, that's pretty much junk. You're definitely gonna have to just get another case and swap internals. All right, so we're gonna get the water neck off for the coolant. One of them was already missing, so we're just gonna take this other one over here off. It's 3 10mm bolts, simple fix. Oh no. Then it's just as simple as pulling it off. Trying to retain the O-ring from ripping it. This one came off pretty smooth. The next thing we'll be taking off these rubber boot runners for the carburetor setup on this thing. And as you can tell, some of them have been installed improperly. You can actually look, and on the boots, they say up on them for which way they're supposed to be facing. And as you can tell, some of them, 2 of them, are upside down. So they were improperly installed on the thing, but doesn't matter because they're coming off anyways. All right, and once you got them off, all I want to do is, like I always do, just put these bolts back in where they came from, just to keep from losing them. Just make sure everything's nice and safe. All right, got the tops out and the cams out. Now to get the buckets out, just take you a normal little magnet here. Just pull them bad boys out. Make sure you keep them in a correct order too. As you can see, I've got everything laid out on the table nice and neatly and organized all the way down to the buckets, exactly where they came from, so they can go exactly right back to the same places. All right, as we took a break and come back, the rain has picked up. So where we left off, we were doing the head bolts. We've already got them broke loose in the correct order. Now we're ready to pull the bolts out. And in case you're wondering, it's just a simple 12mm. Nothing too crazy. They weren't torqued extremely tight, so it's pretty easy to break them loose. As far as it goes with when you're taking the head bolts out, most of the time, pretty much every time, it's safe to say you're gonna wanna get new hardware. You're not gonna reuse the same stuff. Unless you're in an absolute pickle, then you could possibly reuse the head bolts, but I don't ever recommend reusing the ones that have already been torqued. It's always best to just do new hardware and ARP studs if possible. So pulling these head bolts out, it's not going to make much of a difference what order they come out, where they go. It's not like the rest of the stuff that needs to be organized, because these won't be being retained and reused. So got all these to go over, make sure they're all nice and loose. Some of them still finicky sometimes. Now let's get these problems. Come on out of there, bud. And all these are the same length as well, so there's no real worry of getting the links mix matched. Here's another view. So you can see we've got all the spots here for the head bolts. It's hard to do this with a camera, it's kind of weird. But yeah, all those holes there obviously for the head bolts that we just removed. So now we're going to gently remove the cylinder head. Now when you're doing this, it's best to use a nice soft mallet, sand mallet, or it's also nice to use just a nice rubber mallet, because this is, you know, aluminum, so you don't want to do too much. And there is actually one more piece here that I need to do. I will take a video for you guys to show you what I'm talking about here. Okay, so on this side, you can see here there's this one Allen I have to take out still. And that's a rod that runs through the back side there. And it's locking the timing chain in place. So if you tried to pull the cylinder head up, it would just lock and you wouldn't be able to do it. So I need to remove that bolt real quick. And this is a 6 Pittsburgh is what I'm using for this bad boy. Just gonna grab your chain too while you're at it here. Keep it from binding. Can here. Let's see. Like so. Then spread it out so it doesn't get caught. Then you have your bolt. You can just drop your timing chain, set your bolt to the side. Now you're ready to remove the cylinder. Now, as before, like I said, rubber mallet's best. You're gonna go through here. Usually, sometimes, if it's not too old and not been taken apart in a long time, some of these parts, when you take the head bolts out, it will loosen themselves and it's not too bad to get off. Some of them you really have to pry and hammer on to get the cylinder heads to come off. So we're gonna see about this one, as well as I just felt like there's 2 more bolts, bro. Okay, so the 2 bolts here, the 2 Allens that I was missing out on, with the 2 that go right here for the cylinder head down to the sleeve. So we got those removed. Now we are ready to pull the cylinder head off. All right. So we're gonna take our rubber mallet, double check one last time, make sure there's nothing holding it on, everything's loose. You're not gonna be jarring against anything on the aluminum. And then you're gonna take your edges here. You have these nice little edges that you can take. And you can work all the way around. I can see it slowly starting to separate. Okay, so now that we've hit it a little bit around and we've got everything jarred a little bit loose, take you a nice flat head. Now be very careful about this. The thinner the tip, the better you are, because this being aluminum, you don't want to go gouging on the aluminum and mess up the surface and not make a good seal when you put a new head gasket back on. So you very gently, just very gently on the edges, all the way around. And I can hear some old fossilized oil seepage going on here. But yeah, you're just gonna go around it and very carefully work it to not mess up anything there. And then once it breaks free, you'll feel it, you'll know it. And voila, there's our cylinder head off. We'll set this to the side. All right. Okay, so we've got the head gasket and cylinder head off. Head gasket looked great. The cylinder head doesn't look bad either. Definitely looks like someone may have been in here not awfully too long ago. But nothing too crazy in there. All the cylinder walls look decent. You can actually still see honing marks in the cylinder walls on all the cylinders. So that's a very good sign. Very, very good sign. This thing probably got rebuilt and not ran a lot and with the same pistons, or if this is a full original engine that maybe just had a new head gasket put on. It looks in really good shape so far. So far, that's awesome. Like I said, the only reason we're doing this is because we can't put the cover on the side, and this case has to be replaced. So now the next piece is we have the actual sleeve unit here, which this setup, and you've seen in the last clip, if you Honda boys out there, it's going to look really similar because it's pretty much the same style as a D-Series, B-Series Honda engine. It's just basically sleeved. So that can be good, that can be bad. In this case, for high revving, making power, good. So now, we just have to finagle our finaglers here. Get our marks lined up. We can get these finicky last two pistons to come on out of the sleeves here. Ta-da! So we have our upper guide piece here. We have our whole sleeve assembly. And like I said, these hone marks are something else. Let me get another clip for you. See, when I said you can see the hone marks, this thing has been honed not too long ago at all. This thing looks great. All right, so now we're moving on to the internals of this gsxr 750. And right off the bat, you can see here, for those of you who don't know, these little nozzles sticking out right here. Well, you got one per each cylinder all the way down. So what those are oil squirters. Those are pretty much sitting in there, and as your pistons, or it's doing the combustion cycle, as your pistons are moving up and down, your oil squirters are simultaneously spraying oil into the bottom of your piston skirts to keep it nice and lubricated. Because you got to remember, these are very high revving engines. They do get very hot. They do require a lot of lubrication to keep the components working as they should. Because if not, it would just be catastrophic failure right off the bat. As you can tell, things are starting to get a little bit more complex. Things are about to start getting fun. All right, so I've got the starter cover off the front, the starter off. Put over there on the table. Next is going to be the rest of these covers here. All right, so we've got the case off for the clutch and everything. Got all that going. We've got the sleeve off, the cylinder head off. The only thing now we've got to do, get a couple more things off and split this case. Get the crank and everything out, get the transmission out, the oil pan off, and get ready to just pretty much have everything ready for another case. All right, guys. Thank you for watching the video. It's hotter than hell in here right now. I'm dying of humidity. It's raining. Still not helping anything. So I'm about to go in and crash out for the night. But I feel like we've definitely got some good progress done on the the engine. And if you like these videos and you like watching me do my thing, leave a like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos. Appreciate it, guys.